Coach, how do you look back on last season, the postseason success you were able to have, and now heading into year 3 for you, how are you hoping to build off of that?
Yeah, I think last season's last season, right? We talk about our goals and ambitions as a program and where we want to be, ideally we're building year by year and kind of keep taking steps forward in general as a program. I mean, there's certain lessons that we take from that. But, we got a new group. We got a lot of new guys in the locker room and, certainly probably a bigger target on our back this year than maybe last year. So, we got a long way to go, in terms of where we got to get to. But, we try to take it step by step.
With the new guys in the program, just getting into the fall, can you just talk about just sort of the work you put in to make sure they're ready for the season when it starts?
Yeah, we don't get enough time. It's the reality of the situation. We get 2 weeks and we play our first game. So it's a little bit trial by fire. If you have to throw us into difficult situations. We try to, when we schedule our preseason opponents, schedule really difficult games and competition because ultimately those games give you lessons and give you feedback in terms of what you do well, what you need to grow in, all areas, both individually and collectively. And so, but we saw it even with our group last year. Maybe we didn't start off as strong as we wanted. Certainly, we lost our first 3 games, and so it does take time to get going. I mean, though, for us, we have ambitions of hopefully having a strong RPI and putting us in that large contention. And in order to do that, you got to start off quick. There's not a ton of margin for error. So we're trying to figure out hey, what combinations of players, who do we want out there, how we're going to play, and trying to get everybody on the same page. The theme of the morning was urgency. We have to have extreme urgency in how we do that because we know the first match is coming up in less than 2 weeks. A week and a half is our first official match, and so there's not a ton of time before we get going for real.
Coach, what would you say your biggest takeaways were from last season overall?
For us, I think the name of the game is probably consistency. We knew, I knew pretty early on last year that we had capabilities to be, pretty good. And so I think consistency was probably something that eluded us a little bit throughout the season. Luckily for us, we started to click at when it mattered, right, in the right moments. And I think that does separate as you get into later in the season. Teams play with, maybe a little less risk, and the games become a little tighter. And so, we were able to find ways to play some of our best football at the end. And, ultimately that's what you want to do every year is you want to be playing your best towards the end of the season. But this year, there's a little less room for error with us. There's only top 2 teams in our conference make a conference final this year, and so you got to kind of be on it a little bit earlier. And so the results matter, and certainly there'll be some high pressure games, but that is one of the things I like about this group, and we've had more of it, is we have a little bit more experience being in those matches. Certainly these 2 guys right here have played in some of those matches, which will certainly help their growth and leadership within the rest of the group.
To Naz and Thore, how have you guys stepped up into that senior leadership role, and what are some goals you're setting for either yourselves or just what you think this team is capable of as a whole?
Yeah, maybe just getting the new guys integrated well with the team. I think the new guys could definitely help us a lot. I think it's our job to make sure that the new guys feel like it's home for them. Because to be honest, if they feel comfortable, that means it's better for everyone. You know what I mean? So I think that's our main goal. It's just to make sure that all the new guys know our standards, our values, and everything should be simple.
Yeah, I mean, as a senior, you have a lot of experience, obviously, and it's our job for the group for the guys who came in, to show them how we play, what our culture is, and ultimately what our goals are. The older guys set the examples on and off the field, and we always have to make sure that the team stays together and just show them what kind of team we are and want to be this season.
So obviously St. Louis the other day, kind of a first look this fall. What were your biggest things you learned from that?
We got a lot of room for growth, you know, and we knew that right away. I mean, we put ourselves in those matches to just try to see guys, different combinations together. There was a lot of guys on the field who maybe that was their first college soccer match, and I think St. Louis is a very good team. I said this last year when we played Missouri State, and I'll say it again with St. Louis. I think that's very much a team that we could see in the NCAA tournament when you start talking about a little deeper. You know, they're an older, experienced group, and so that's what we wanted. You know, it forced us to play, especially maybe at the beginning of the match, a little bit quicker than we were naturally comfortable with, which is a good thing. You know, it ultimately helps us grow. And then I thought the second half we grew quite a bit and played some much better football. And so it gave us an idea on that. You know, certainly it was our first look in a game situation at some of the incoming guys. And we saw some of them really step up and show a lot of promise. And then really good film this morning. You know, the guys, these returners know the first film back after the first exhibition, you know, make sure you get a seat with a chair back on it, right? Because it's going to be a little longer session. But again, it's so critical to put ourselves in these situations, because if we have it comfortable through preseason, right, or it's a little easy, then you don't really see what you're made of until maybe it's too late, or you get in those matches, you know, later on in the season when we play some of those top 20 teams that we'll certainly see this year.
Coach mentioned the postseason experience and just volume that you guys have played in as seniors. How important do you think that is, and what have you learned from that as you try to get back to that point again this year?
I mean, we put ourselves in that situation last year, so of course we are the guys that the players who came in new rely on. So we have to step up in those situations and make sure with our experience we teaching the younger guys who might have not played in some of these environments to show how we play, and just help them with our experience and make sure everybody's on the same page and kind of like lead them the way.
Yeah, I think for us, like, most importantly is just like making like a standard to be in the postseason. You know what I mean? Like, just make it a standard, like, for our team to be playing in December. You know, I think that's the main thing. Just making it a standard.
Coach, any of those newcomers that have really shown out, or just anyone in general that you've noticed has made a jump this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have some guys that have come in that are going to be able to help add to our team. You know, I think, again, and I think as time goes on, you know, some of them will really gain comfort and be able to help us even more throughout the season as it goes on. We have some transfers that have come in that we think will add some quality and a little bit of experience, and we have some young guys who are exciting. You know, two local guys in Mikey Stukenholtz and McGuire Perkins who have done well, and some young freshmen. You know, one of our defenders is 17 years old, but you wouldn't know it from watching him on the field. You know, he plays with an olderness about him. Some of the freshmen that have come in have gotten professional experience. I think 4 of them made their debuts this summer in MLS Next Pro, which certainly helps expedite their learning process, as maybe it's not their first time playing in men's football, which is a big difference between, you know, high school youth versus playing with grown men. I mean, these guys are 23, 24 years old respectively, right? So it's a little bit different, but we're going to need some of those guys. There's no doubt about it, but I think, you know, the key with us, it's not it's not returners and newcomers or older guys and younger guys. It's one collective group. It's 26 strong, and how do we become one collective? That's going to be the key for us to have success. I think that's a key with any team that ultimately goes and has success at a high level. Is they're a unit, young, old, and you kind of need to be 26 collectively strong.
Did you say Salah was one of those that had a MLS experience this summer?
Yeah. He had the opportunity to go in and train with FC Cincinnati this summer, which I think was really valuable for
How
him.
much does that can that help? Like what he's going to be able to do this fall?
Yeah. It's part of his growth and development. Nata is one of our captains on our team, and so certainly being around. The more you can put yourself around other high-achieving individuals, I think the more growth you have, right? So to go into a professional environment where everybody's getting paid to play, it's their job. You have older, more experienced guys who have been playing professional football for maybe 10, 15 years. I think that speeds up his growth, whether that's from a goalkeeping standpoint or even learning just on what guys are doing off the field, right? Like how they prepare for a session, how they watch film, how they analyze the game, how they do their treatment, all those things that go into being a really high level player. And so we were really happy that FC Cincinnati opened up their doors and allowed him to experience that. He also played with a pretty good USL2 team over the summer, and so got to play with some good players as well. And so the more we can expose guys to those environments, I think it helps in their growth. Naz was the same way. He played in Asheville this summer. They made a Final Four in the USL2, playing with some of the top players in the country. And so I think anytime you can have guys get those experiences, it's only going to grow them and them to see maybe a little different perspective than what they have in their environment here. To play with different players, work under different coaches, I think can be a really positive thing.
Naz, what was your experience like this summer with that?
It was pretty good, playing for Asheville it was great. I think it gave me like a new hunger, like to win. I feel like we went undefeated. They lost in the semis. I think, it just gave me like a new hunger to win. Like the standard was to win. Don't matter how you win, just win. You know what I mean? And everyone was together. The culture was good. I think it definitely helped me a lot, and I definitely look forward for the season.
You talked about just sort of maybe a little bit more added pressure going into this season. Can you just talk about how cool it's been as you as a coach to see sort of just the standard raised each year that you've been here?
Yeah, pressure is a privilege, right? It's a privilege to have pressure because that means you're doing something right if you're playing in those types of games, things like that. There's the other type of pressure of you're playing games because maybe you're fearful of losing your job, things like that, But I think that's what every player that we recruit or guys that we have returning, 95% of these guys have ambitions of playing at the next level, right, and doing that. And so it's really, really critical for us, and why I do think college soccer is a tremendous tool to really help grow guys and develop guys as soccer players, but also as leaders, as anything they do is the pressure to have to perform in certain environments, right, or live up to a certain standard and achieve those. All of these, soccer is the vehicle at which we teach life lessons, and ultimately when these guys are done, I want them all to have successful careers, professional careers, if that's what they, desire, and put those guys in opportunities to do so. But, the values that we try to teach and we carry over, they translate into so many different areas in life. And, that's what's ultimately really important, is these guys are going to be successful no matter what they do, because of, maybe learning values that what it takes to be successful. And so, it's good to see. And look, we want to keep growing. That's why we came. I don't think any of these guys here, anyone in the locker room, came to just kick a ball and have a little fun. And okay, if we win, we win. We don't, we don't. We have high achieving, highly ambitious individuals in the locker room, and there's a drive. And I think when you get high performers around each other, around one another, the group can really thrive. I think Nick Saban said it best as high performers and low achievers don't get along, right? But if you can bring a group of high performers together, then it really becomes a special environment that you get to work in every single day.
So just for anybody, what would you say would be the biggest games this fall that you're kind of circling on the calendar?
The next one, right? All of them. I mean, again, we talked about it of we want to put ourselves put ourselves in a situation to be an at-large team in the NCAA tournament, to host NCAA tournament games at Caniglia. Something that's never been done, and we get up here and we'll proudly say that with our chest. In order to accomplish those goals, you can't afford to slip up and overlook teams. One of our core values is respect, right? And so we have to have respect to each and every one of our opponents as they come in, whether or not they have a sexy name, right, or a high ranking or something like that. Because Omaha doesn't have we're not a Power 4 school with a sexy name and things like that. And so for us, or for me at least, I think, you can look at the rivalries and those natural things that we have every year. And we're going to have some really cool events at Caniglia. We host Creighton this year. We host Denver. I think our home opener is going to be a really cool environment. But, for us, we're going to take each and every game very, very seriously. And I, as a coach, probably get more worried and more antsy and more amped up for maybe the non-rivalry games, if that makes sense.